Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to be changing out the brake fluid on the Little One series. So first off, need to decide whether we're going to just jack up one corner at a time, do it the lazy way, one axle at a time, or get all four wheels off the ground at once, do it the proper way. I think we'll do it the proper way. So get the front end up on axle stands first. Now this is a job that you want to look at doing every 2 years, no matter how many Ks you put on the vehicle, because brake fluid is hygroscopic, it attracts water, it absorbs water, moisture, so you certainly want to be getting this done every 2 years. Alright, so now that we've got all four wheels off the ground, we're ready to whip the wheels off, but before we do so, I just want to take a look under the bonnet and find out whereabouts the ABS unit is on these cars, because depending on whether it's the left hand side or the right hand side will dictate which order we bleed the calipers in. And look at the state of this, look. We've got plastic covers to remove. It's almost like the car manufacturers are embarrassed about their master cylinders nowadays. Not like back in the day when they were proudly on display. Now I'm pretty sure it's over this side, with the car being a right-hand drive car. It should be by the master cylinder, but sometimes it's over the other side. Just get rid of these leaves first before we whip the cover off. And thank you BMW for providing us with a little leaf guard down there. So down here in the southern hemisphere, we're coming into autumn, so this is what we've got to contend with this time of year. Right, so let's get rid of this Tupperware container lid. There we go, that's it hiding down there. Perfect. So, that'll mean that we'll be doing the left rear first, and the right rear, and the front left, and then the right front. Alright, we've got a plan. Let's get into it. Now if I remember rightly, I've not had the wheels off this car since I bought it, so I'm not sure what kind of horror show we're going to find behind these wheels, whether the bleed nipples are going to be rusted in, rounded off, half broken, who knows what we're going to find. Maybe the car's been well looked after behind here. Let's get into it and take a look. Get to use my new cordless impact today. Yes. Got the 2 amp hour battery. I should have bought the 4 amp hour one. Come on, get out of there. Yep, good catch, and of course it landed in all the dirt between the cobblestones, so all the threads will be rammed full of grit now. Lovely. Off with the last wheel. Alright, let's take a look at what we got here. Oh yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Plenty of meat on the discs. Doesn't look too bad for the age and the mileage on the vehicle. Yep, we can live with that, I reckon. Alright BMW, so which odd numbered spanner does it take for the bleed nipples on a 1 Series? Is it the 7mm, the 9mm or the 11mm? Let's get this worked out before we get into the job. I'm guessing a 9mm for the rears. Yes. Oh, we've got a nipple on display here. The cover's already popped off. We've got here 11 for the front ones. No worries. Right then, we're back using the one-man brake bleed kit today. I do have a motive bleeder. I've owned it for years, but I bloody hate using the thing. I hate it. I much prefer this thing. Cheap and easy to use. The only thing I find with it is when I come to use it the first time round after the last bleed, normally there's a bit of time between bleeding breaks, I find that the little one-way valve sticks and it normally causes the hose to blow off the caliper. Then you end up with a right mess on your hands, brake fluid everywhere. So this time round I'll give it a bit of a squirt of CRC spray. That should lubricate it up. It should work a bit better this time. So before we get too carried away, we'll just whip the lid off the master cylinder. Get our bleed hose positioned here, and I've got a glass bottle. I normally find a glass bottle will stand up a bit easier with the weight, but sometimes when you're pressing the brake fluid through the bleed hose there, it'll kick back. Using a plastic bottle, often it'll fall over. So I'm using a glass one today. It's a bit sturdier. And I've added a few zip ties to the weak connection that goes against the caliper here. I find that it'll just help the hose to not separate while you're pumping that fluid through. There we go. That'll do. Stay there. Crack the bleed nipple open. Alright, so you guys keep an eye on this end, see what the fluid looks like. And there we go, the nipple's just closed a quarter of a turn, unbeknownst to me. So now I'm wondering why the pedal's feeling a bit firmer than it should do. But I'm going to keep pumping anyway, ignorant to what's happened at this end. So the one thing that we've got to think about is not letting the master cylinder level, the fluid level, get too low, because if you introduce air lower than new master cylinder, you're going to get air into your ABS unit, and it's much more difficult to bleed. You'll need a scan tool to properly bleed that. So as long as we can keep that fluid level from getting too low, then you don't have to worry about bleeding the ABS unit. Try not to make too much of a mess when you're topping this up, because brake fluid is corrosive to paint, so if you get this all over the place, it'll eat away at your paintwork, so just be mindful of that. Give it a few more pumps. Now this caliper that we're working on at the moment is the furthest away from the master cylinder, so that new fluid's got a fair ways to travel before we get it out of the caliper at the left rear. So give it plenty of pumps, just keep it topped up in between. Give it a bit more. Just a few more till we see that bright new fluid coming out the end of the hose there. To be honest, the fluid that's coming out doesn't look that bad, so it must have been changed not long before I bought the car. So got on the guys that sold the car to the previous owner, who didn't have it that long before me. They did a bit of service work on it, so fair enough. Alright, so that's that one sorted. So next off we'll move on to the right rear. You don't want to go mad tightening these bleed nipples up. You don't want to make life too hard for yourself in 2 years' time. So we'll give that a quick blast with the brake clean. Just wash away any loose brake fluid there. Don't want it on your discs. And I'm finding that the condition of these brake nipples aren't that bad. Often you'll find that they're all chewed up, rounded off, they can be corroded in, they're rusted in, so you can end up with a real nightmare on your hands, but these aren't too bad. And when I'm sat here pumping the brake pedal, you can't actually see the level in the master cylinder. So I normally give it a few, and I sort of think to myself, I should go and check the master cylinder. He'll be alright, few more pumps. He'll be fine, probably. Alright, better top it up. Alright, so we've got fresh fluid through to the right rear, so next off we'll move to the left front. So what I found when I got to the front calipers here was the caliper hose is slightly in the way of getting this bleed hose on the nipple. So whether they're just like that from the factory or whether it's the position a previous guy that's worked on it has left the hoses in, I don't know. And yes, there we go, lovely. The bleed hose has popped off. Didn't have it seated properly because of that caliper hose. And there's me just pumping away, completely ignorant to what's happened at that front left caliper. Brake fluid everywhere. But that pedal was feeling like it was going down way too easy. A little bit of check on it. Reposition the hose, try and secure it a bit better. There we go, that'll do us. Give it another top up. Now I didn't give up on that front left caliper. Once we got that bleed hose resecured, we got it all sorted, unlike the GoPro battery that did give up during the process. So I've got a fresh battery in the GoPro now. And next up we'll move on to the right front. And again, I found that that caliper hose was slightly in the way. I was ready for it this time. Now, I don't know who had been in here before and done this bleed nipple up. It was bloody tight. It's like 1,000,000 foot-pounds. Just going to reposition myself on the spanner here because I want to be super careful. I'm not going to round it or shear it off. Just going to go nice and careful with it. There we go. Got some fresh fluid out of that last caliper, the end of the line. Right, so now that we've got that one sorted, we'll just get this topped up to the maximum mark on the master cylinder reservoir there. Bit of a clean up before we stick the lid back on. We'll re-secure our bleed nipple here. Maybe not as tight as it was as we found it. Bit of a clean up with the brake clean, actually using brake cleaner for its intended purpose today. And we'll reposition the lid on our packed lunch again here. I can never get this bloody little rubber tab to seat in straight away. There we go. And look at that, look at the state of that. It doesn't look bad actually. That was probably a waste of an hour or so and a little bit of money, but hey, at least we've got the peace of mind knowing that we've got some brand new fresh fluid in there now. We've got a baseline moving forward. 2 years from today, we'll be doing the job again. So get the wheels back on. Get the axle stands removed and drop back down on its wheels. Then we'll go around and torque up all of the wheel bolts, 88 foot-pounds. Right, that's that job sorted. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.